They sent me a text that read, "Please don't come to the wedding. It's family only." The same family I had just transferred $50,000 to, for their dream wedding, and the kicker? They said, "It's better this way. You always make things awkward." My hands were shaking, not from sadness, but from the betrayal that burned straight through my chest. Before you scroll, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This story's twist will leave you speechless. I'm Grace. And until that day, I thought love meant sacrifice, especially for family. I had worked 2 jobs for years, saved every cent, skipped vacations, skipped everything, just to give my younger sister Ashley the perfect wedding she always dreamed of. She cried when I sent her the money. Said I was the backbone of this family. My parents told everyone at church how Grace is the reason we can finally give Ashley a real celebration. So imagine the punch in the gut when, a week before the wedding, I got a cold message saying I wasn't invited. No explanation. No apology. Just silence after that. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. I called Ashley, straight to voicemail. I texted Mom, she left me on read. Even Uncle Bill said, "I'm sorry, Grace." I was told not to get involved. I was humiliated. Alone. Forgotten. But here's where it gets even more twisted. 3 days later, I saw Instagram stories. The wedding was already happening. I wasn't just uninvited, they'd moved the date without telling me. They laughed, danced, toasted, all under the twinkling lights I paid for, and guess who was giving the toast in my place? My cousin Rachel, the same cousin who once called me too boring to be a bridesmaid. That night, I stared at my phone screen for hours, watching their happiness built on my back. But what they didn't know was that I had a plan. A quiet, dangerous plan. One that would tear their perfect little celebration apart, because they hadn't just taken my money, they had signed a contract. I had warned them, twice, to have the contract reviewed. But they waved it off like everything else I said. "It's just family, Grace. No need to go legal." But I wasn't stupid. When I transferred the $50,000, I made them sign a basic sponsorship agreement I'd drawn up with a lawyer friend. It clearly stated that I was a primary sponsor, with full credit on all wedding materials, and the right to withdraw funding and seek reimbursement if I was excluded from the ceremony without proper cause. And guess what? It was legally binding. While they were sipping champagne in their $12,000 venue and dancing under chandeliers I paid for, I was sitting with my lawyer filing a formal notice. Within 24 hours, the venue received a warning of pending legal action. The decorator? Pulled out immediately. The catering service? Froze delivery the morning of their post-wedding brunch. Everything started unraveling, but the real chaos began when the wedding photographer, who I had personally booked and paid for, emailed the family, due to conflict with our primary sponsor. All photos from this event are currently withheld. Any use without consent will result in legal action. No wedding album. No video montage. Nothing. I didn't stop there. I reached out to the local event magazine that had planned to feature Ashley's wedding as a small-town dream celebration. I sent them the contract. Showed them receipts, the headline. The next day, bride's dream wedding funded by sister she banned, legal storm unfolds. The article blew up. Hundreds of shares. Comments like, "Justice served, how heartless can a family be," and "Go Grace," flooded the post, and then, they called my mother. Voice trembling. "Grace, we didn't know it would get this far. Can we talk?" I paused, smiled, and simply said, "Now you want to talk?" But what they didn't know was, this wasn't just about revenge anymore, this was about taking back everything they stole from me, and making sure the world knew exactly who they were. And I still hadn't played my final card. The moment I heard Mom's voice break on the phone, part of me felt that old pull, the child inside still wanting her mother's approval, her warmth. But I shut it down, because forgiveness doesn't come before accountability. 2 days later, I got a formal email from Ashley. No apology, just a desperate request: "Can you please release the photos? This has become a PR nightmare." She even had the nerve to say, "You're ruining my marriage before it even starts." No. I wasn't ruining anything. They ruined it the second they cashed my check and crossed my name off the guest list like I was a burden. So I sent a reply. Short. Sharp: "Ashley, you treated me like I was invisible. I paid for your dream, and you repaid me with silence. Until I receive a formal, public apology, and reimbursement of $50,000, all media and vendors will remain frozen. 10 minutes later, I went viral. Turns out, someone had leaked the email exchange. TikTok picked it up. $50K wedding drama, sister funds it all then gets banned? My side of the story took off. People started tagging me with hashtag Justice for Grace. Women shared their own betrayal stories. Some even sent me donations and messages like, "You were the bigger person, and they still cut you out." Sponsors started reaching out. A women's finance podcast invited me on. My small savings tips account exploded with followers overnight, and in the middle of that media storm, I received a message from the wedding venue manager, "Grace, due to your sponsorship and your ongoing legal ownership stake in the event branding, you technically have naming rights to the wedding theme and material." So I made a move they never saw coming. I renamed the official wedding gallery page to "The Wedding I Was Banned From, but Funded Entirely." Their guests were horrified. Extended family started asking questions. The newlyweds' thank you cards? Came back unopened. Their happy honeymoon? Cancelled. Because all their joint accounts had been frozen due to my lawsuit. Still, I hadn't said a single harsh word to their faces. I didn't need to. The truth was doing all the damage for me, but the final twist, the one that turned everything upside down, it came exactly 1 week later when a man showed up at my door dressed in a gray suit. Holding an envelope. He said, "Grace, my name is Brandon. I'm Ashley's husband's older brother. I just found out what they did to you. And I think you should know. There's something about their marriage you haven't heard yet." Brandon's eyes were filled with a strange mix of guilt and urgency. As he handed me the envelope, he looked around, making sure no one was watching. It was like he was handing me something too dangerous to be in the wrong hands. I opened the envelope carefully, feeling the weight of whatever was inside. It was a set of bank statements and a series of messages between Ashley and her husband, Jason. "Grace doesn't need to know, but we'll get her money back when we can. Just keep her quiet for now. Don't worry. I'll make sure Grace doesn't take this too far. She'll regret it if she does." I could feel my heartbeat quicken. They had been playing me all along. Jason, the man Ashley had just married, wasn't just in on the betrayal, he was the mastermind behind it. Brandon, seeing my shock, leaned in closer. "Grace, you don't know the half of it. Jason, he's been hiding something. They've been living off your money while falsifying their assets. Their business, their entire wedding was funded through lies. They've been skimming from everyone." I almost couldn't breathe. The weight of the truth was crushing me. Everything, the humiliation, the betrayal, the pain, it had all been a ploy to cover up their own financial schemes. Brandon wasn't done. He slid another piece of paper from the envelope, revealing property deeds, properties that Jason and Ashley had hidden in someone else's name, probably to avoid taxes or scrutiny. And one of the properties? It was in my name. They used your good name, Grace. They forged your signature on a property deal. They owe you more than just money. They owe you everything. I looked up at Brandon, feeling the weight of what he was saying. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. My voice barely a whisper. "Because, Grace," he said, "I can't let them get away with this. I think they deserve to feel the full weight of what they've done to you." The anger inside me surged. The betrayal cut deeper than I ever imagined. They had tried to destroy me, humiliate me, all while hiding their own dirty secrets behind my back. But now, I had the upper hand. I didn't need to get revenge through social media anymore. No. I had real power now. And I was about to turn their entire world upside down. I looked at Brandon and said, "I don't care about their wedding anymore. I don't care about their reputation. I'm going to take back what's mine. I'm going to make sure they never play another person like me again." Brandon nodded, his expression grim. "Then let's make sure they feel the consequences." The real game had just begun. But this time, I was calling the shots. The next morning, I walked into the law firm I had quietly retained months ago, not just for the wedding contract, but for something bigger. I handed over the documents Brandon gave me, along with the forged signature proof. My lawyer's eyes widened. "This," she said, tapping the property deeds, "is more than fraud. It's criminal. If we push forward, they could face jail time." Good. For years, I had let my family guilt me into silence. Into giving. Into shrinking myself to keep the peace. But peace wasn't real when it came at the cost of your dignity. Ashley and Jason had taken everything from me, my savings, my trust, my place in the family, and used it to build a castle on lies, but that castle was about to crumble. We filed a full civil lawsuit for fraud, identity theft, and breach of contract. I added Jason's name to the claim and looped in the IRS for tax evasion. Thanks to the hidden assets, the legal action triggered an investigation. Their accounts were frozen. The newlyweds were suddenly drowning in debt, headlines, and scandal. Ashley's phone, which had once been filled with congratulations, turned silent. Her dream husband? Fired from his job. His reputation? Ruined, and the cherry on top, the property they illegally put in my name. I legally took ownership of it. It was a lake house. Quiet. Beautiful. Isolated. I moved in the same week they were served with court papers, while their world collapsed. Mine began to bloom. My social accounts, once small, became platforms for women sharing stories of betrayal, empowerment, and revenge with dignity. I got invited to speak at finance events. A startup approached me to collaborate on a budgeting app for women. My story had turned into a movement. Then, one afternoon, sitting by the lake, I received a message. It was from my mother, just one line: "I'm sorry. We didn't know how strong you really were." I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because, for once, they all knew who I really was, not the background sister. Not the family's personal ATM. I was Grace, the woman they tried to erase, the woman they betrayed, and the woman who rose higher than they ever imagined. They banned me from the wedding, but in the end, they handed me everything.